Hey girls, I'm going to go ahead and do a TTC update here. I know it's been a little while since I posted anything relating to TTC, but I kind of didn't know for sure what was going on, so I wanted to wait until I knew more before I, you know, updated you guys on anything. Otherwise, it would just be me guessing. Um, so I I'll kind of recap if you didn't watch the last one, and I have one of my fertility friend charts up here, and then I have a list of things here, so kind of bear with me as I'm looking here and here. So last cycle, on 12 days past ovulation, which was January 1st, I had a positive HPT on a earlypregnancytest.com internet test. They just released, like 2 months ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer than that, a sensitivity of 10 test. It's like an early detection test. And that was what was positive. And then on day 13, past ovulation, which was Sunday, January 2nd, I got a positive on a first response early result test, which I think can do like 12.5. So again, it's a low detection test. Then on day 14 past ovulation, I got a negative test, a negative first response test that morning, and I had some back pain, and then that night I started bleeding. So that's a recap of what happened. I went in for the ultrasound on Wednesday. I believe it was Wednesday, because they told me to come in for an ultrasound after I told them, I had 2 positives followed by a negative, and that I was bleeding. And the ultrasound was clear. They didn't see anything relating to pregnancy, which they wouldn't expect to at that gestation, but they didn't see anything that would cause a miscarriage either. So no fibroids or anything like that. Oh, and when I was there, they took blood work just to measure my HCG, and then I went back on Monday, so I gave it a couple days, and they measured my HCG again, and then they told me my doctor would call me on Wednesday to go over the results of everything. So she called me on Wednesday, and so she called me today, and she told me, there was HCG in my system. It wasn't a lot, and by the second draw on Monday, my levels were back to 0. So she didn't tell me what the levels on the first one were, and I don't really want to know. But what I do know is they're back to 0. So she said that I had a miscarriage, and she said, my body naturally took care of it, and that's the way nature intended for things like that to happen. She pretty much told me that it was most likely a chromosomal abnormality, because they didn't find anything, and it terminated so early. The day I went in for my ultrasound, I was 4 weeks. So, that's really super early. And had I not tested until I missed my period, then I would never have known. I would have just assumed everything was normal. Just I had a little bit heavier bleeding in the beginning than normal. But really, had I not tested, I would not have known. And I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, because if it happens again, they'll do a lot more testing, and I wouldn't know that there was a problem unless I was testing. But at the same time, it's something that's hard to go through emotionally. So it's like, I don't know. I'm torn now between testing early and not, because part of me wants to know in case I need more testing, in case something is wrong on our end. But the other part of me is like, maybe I shouldn't know. Maybe I don't want to know. So I haven't decided how I'm going to be testing in the future. But right now I'm on cycle day 10. And my doctor initially said, I said, when can we start trying again? And she said, wait until you have a normal period and then you can start trying. And I was like, do we have to wait? And she was like, no. She goes, your levels are 0. So if you want to start trying, you're emotionally okay with trying again. She said, you should go for it if you want to. She goes, there's no clinical reason not to. And she knows I'm charting and everything. And the miscarriage isn't technically considered a period. So it's harder to date the pregnancy because they don't know when you're going to ovulate. And but since I'm charting and I'm going to know my ovulation date, it's going to be easier to date than someone who wouldn't be charting, wouldn't know any of that. So I started taking OPKs, and they are almost positive, actually. And usually I get my positive on day 11 or 12. So it looks like I'm probably going to ovulate on time, which is exciting. I didn't know if we would get another shot, on time for me, but it looks like it's going to work out that way. Yeah, I kind of decided I don't want to do updates all the time throughout the cycle unless I just really need to tell you guys something. I think I'm just going to do like a recap at the end of each cycle, so you'll either know if I'm pregnant or kind of what went on for that cycle. So I'll show you a copy of my chart for this month so far. The doctor was like, how are you doing? And, are you all right? Like emotionally, she was making sure I was okay. And I'm doing all right. It was hard, especially when you're bleeding. It's hard because you know what that is. And that's the hard part. When that's over, it's easier for me. Like, I understand it was still a loss, but like, you're kind of in the moment for like however long you're bleeding, and it's a constant reminder of what's going on. And when it stops, it's better. And it's like my son knew or something when it happened, because he is not a cuddly baby. Like, he likes to be on the move all the time. But that day, he came up to me and he kept cuddling with me and snuggling with me, and he was so good. And I don't know, it's like he knew or something, because he just made it easier. And just look at him and see God gave him to me, and clearly he knew what he was doing. So, this baby wasn't meant to be, but hopefully in the future, God will bless us with another child that we're supposed to have. So I just look at it that way, and my son definitely made it easier to go through, though. So, and my friend just had a baby last week on Thursday, I think, on Thursday. And, is that right? Yeah. And her baby was born at 35 weeks. But it's healthy. It was 6 pounds, 7 or 8 ounces, and didn't have to go to the NICU. It's home with them now. So I've been able to help her and see the baby and hold the baby, and it just puts things in perspective for me a little bit, and makes it a little bit easier to go through. So I think that's all for now. But thank you guys so much for all your comments on my last video. It doesn't make it better that this happened to me, but it definitely helps. Definitely the support is amazing, and I'm just thankful that I have you guys who kind of understand what you go through if this has ever happened to you, and even if it hasn't, you understand the struggles with trying to conceive. And yeah, just the comments mean a lot when you're going through something like that, so I really do appreciate it. But that's all for now. I will update you guys at the end of the cycle unless I have to tell you something before then. So we'll see, but that's my goal, is to update. And you'll see some dotted lines. I'm not going to temp this cycle all the time, just through ovulation, confirmation, and then that's it. Because I don't like to see my temperatures drop at the end there. It makes me sad. So, yeah, if you're wondering what the dots and dash lines and stuff are, those are just days that I skipped. So, all right, bye, girls.